Welcome back to 2020. ShapeLanguage is back.
We're back.
We're back, baby.
Been away for a while, but we came back full force.
Coming back with refreshed minds, and we've got some cool art here to show you.
Yep.
So we've got some really, really exciting guests that are already lined up for this year. But we wanted to get things going this year, so we just threw together a podcast this Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And what we decided to do this time was show a couple different pieces that have inspired us in the past and some that are inspiring us now.
Yep.
And even some classics going way back. And I think you're going to have a really good time. We had a really fun time.
We had a blast. We ended up learning a lot about ourselves and about each other. And
it turns out Damon's a really, really good guesser. And, I mean, an informed guesser. He's pretty smart. So, yeah, I think you'll enjoy this one a lot. We've obviously got the video element to it. So, maybe you can kick back with a nice Pop-Tart, some dessert, and watch this pretty face and this guy with his Australia cap on. And let us take you for an art ride.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, guys.
Enjoy.
Okay.
Cool.
Go for it.
All right. So when I was thinking about what currently is inspiring me, I knew it was going to be a video game, and I pretty quickly realized that it would be Modern Warfare. I thought through it, but I know we've been talking for a while about getting Modern Warfare stuff on here, and so I was going through and looking at which ones I thought were the most interesting to me, and this one stood out. Not so much in overall detail, but because it's got a really nice balance. This is Minotaur. He's a multiplayer character, so he's not even their highest fidelity characters. Like their campaign characters are super high quality, but for a multiplayer character, I thought that this was like so high quality. The photo doesn't do it tons of justice, but like their skin shading is super solid, and
this whole tattoo.
The tattoo's really cool. Freaking awesome, but just like the amount of geo and detail that they have in like all the pouches and cloth, it's got, this character kind of has it all. Like there are a lot of characters that are fully decked out in armor, and you're like, wow, that's like really cool armor. And then there's some that are like got netting and cloth all over them, and you're like, that's really cool cloth. But he's got great skin, a good hair groom. Amazing like cloth pouches. I know are super hard to do, especially game res, and if you're doing it for a multiplayer target, like you have to be so optimal with your geo, and to have pulled off this level of detail is just super impressive to me.
I really wish you could see the wireframe of this, because those pouches are really what are amazing to me as well. You can sort of see like the faceting around his shoulder, which is it's amazing just what can come through with that. But I really wish we could see the wireframe on those pouches. Yeah,
especially in the silhouette, you do see some faceting, but like on the interior of it, it's so solid and so like soft as skin should be, and I love the interior details. Like these arm muscles and the arm veins that are popping through is solid. And now, but what grabs me the most about this character is the face, because here it's rad, but they've got a blend in game. They have a blend of facial mocap with some blend shape stuff going on. It's kind of unclear how they're doing it, because I'm not an expert in that. But when you select this character, they all do like a little like idle thing, and for this character he does this thing where he kind of like hits his nose and like scrunches up his face. And the deformation on his face is so high quality. It blew me away. When I first saw it, I did it like 8 times to see him do that face over and over again. I was like, that's like the most realistic facial deformation I've seen in a game character, especially in a multiplayer character, in so long. It's crazy. It almost looks like they deep faked it, but it's a game in-game model. So this guy is awesome.
I'm sure there's some artists out there who's so happy to hear that you are going through and looking at that level of detail, because I bet there's only a handful of people would have replayed that animation to see him scrunch up his face so many times.
So many times.
The respect that you can give it is very different.
Because it looked like, to me, it looked like they weren't just moving the geo. It looked like they had some like some blending between different wrinkle maps and stuff like that to make it so that like there's like compression in the skin and actual micro folds. And I don't feel like I've seen that in a lot of things.
Could we just jump back to it for 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
I also like his little fluorescent light bulb that he has in his back pocket over here. No, I think it's just amazing that they would do that on a character who's not one of their main characters.
I know. It's pretty cool.
Is the hair with cards?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Okay. It's just hard to tell from this far out.
Yeah, this photo doesn't do it as much justice. I wish I could launch the game and show it to you in all its glory. But I recommend anybody, just if you have Modern Warfare, just go through the operators page, because every single one of them has one of those like little animation things where they really show off a little bit about the character. And I think Minotaur's is super strong, so give it a shot.
No, my roommate's been playing it, and the game is gorgeous. And it's one of those games that, I mean, as much shade as you can give it for certain, I don't know, qualities of the story. I don't know what the story was like in this one, but
it was fine.
One of the things that obviously they are killing is because this game comes out so frequently, they have the things that they do well are just best in class. I mean, it looks so however they're making these pouches, I'm sure these guys have made a bajillion pouches in their life now. Yeah. And they've really got it down to a really good process.
Right.
So, cool. That was a cool piece.
And then I've got a few more from Modern Warfare. So this is price.
Dave was supposed to pick out 3, but he's already got 3 of the first one.
I went crazy.
There's too much good art out there for him to choose.
So this is a campaign character. This is Captain Price. And I thought it was a cool little breakdown of, how they're managing their geo. I think there's a misconception about game reses that they're like super low, but nowadays you can throw so much at the wall because processing is so much more powerful. So it's cool to see them, how they handle the density in certain areas. Like obviously the face is super dense. There's so much in these hair cards, and the hair looks really good. And then also, doing cloth in my own personal work and through in some projects before, like cloth is always one of those things where you're like, it's a tough one because you have to cut in wrinkles, but I always get hung up on like, how is this going to deform? But seeing this where there's just so many triangles and diagonal cuts and there's like no flow to this, it makes me happy because I know I'm not crazy that I when I have to do that, because they did it and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool to see a pro do this stuff too, because when you look at the watch, for instance, it looks like there's so much detail there, and its read is really, really good. And then you look at the geo for it, and it's not crazy high.
No.
But then there are just different sections where you're thinking, oh, this must have a ton of support in geo, and you realize that they were able to get away with a lot of just tiling detail, or a surprising amount could be baked down. And it's just cool. It's part of the process that I think we can gamify in a lot of ways, where it's getting away from art and becoming more of a game of figuring out how do I get this as low as possible, but get it to look as cool as it can be. Right. And they really do it well with this guy.
Yeah. It's always, whenever I see good game res meshes, it's always like I'm looking at the product of someone who's a lot smarter than me, because like right now when I'm making a game res mesh, I do what I can to capture the silhouette, but I never know if I'm putting geo where geo needs to be, or if I'm putting geo where like geo doesn't need to be. But in this case, like it's kind of one of those things where every little cut has purpose for the form and the silhouette and the deformation, and it's just like, I know that this is a very smart and well laid out topology here, so it's cool to see it presented this way.
Yeah, I love just picking through our vault sometimes and looking at characters that our senior character artists have done. Yeah, and sometimes seeing the surprising places where they invested more, because a lot of times those have just given them much better normal bakes. Or like I'm looking at the device that he has on like below his collar there. Yeah, and there's some interesting places there where like you could have just triangulated the whole thing, but by splitting it up just a little bit more, then you can get far better bakes. Right. So it's figuring out exactly how optimized to go in order to keep that detail. These are just really good examples of it.
It's a mark of a very skilled hand, and I appreciate it. And then one other thing that I love about Modern Warfare is that, like, the character models are fantastic. All the art is fantastic, but they've found ways of presenting it in a new light, no pun intended, where there are certain sections of the campaign specifically where you're just looking at things through a headlight. And because of that, it really immerses you more in the character models, and it makes them look even more realistic because they're almost like badly lit. Like a lot of times, especially in in a war zone situation, you're not going to have beautiful 3-point lighting that shows off a character model. You're just going to be seeing them under a blown out headlamp. And if the character models are good enough and that lighting hits a good target for realism, like I've never been sunk into an experience like this before. And there's another mission in the game where you're doing the whole thing through night vision. And I recommend everybody look through it. Plenty of people have talked about it online, but look up that mission. And you're going through like a terrorist house, all in night vision, going room to room, clearing rooms, and there's like hostages involved and stuff. And it's like the best 15 minutes of gameplay I've had in a long time. Wow. And just all of it, the character models, the lighting, the environment, the mood, writing, all of it just came together to make like this incredible experience. And it's just one of those times where like art, gameplay, and story all synced perfectly. And it got me super inspired.
That's such a good screenshot to show this off too, because it isn't like artistically, it is sort of there are mistakes almost, but that's what makes it so realistic. It's like the fact that there's not really a great contrast or a good read between the character and this chunky thing behind him. Yeah. But that's what makes this thing photo real. So if that's what you're going for, they nailed it.
They really did. And I'm always a sucker for when highlights get like smudged and blurred like that. Like, oh God,
a little bit of gloss going across there. Yeah. Just the breakup is perfect.
Yeah. Anytime I see well done gloss breakup, it gets me a little hard. So that's my contemporary inspirations.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I want to take a quick look back at this and just make sure it looks like we're still recording good. All right. Hopefully, all fingers crossed, this is going well. Okay, I'm bringing over my window. So the way that I wanted to do this was, I keep throwing the word gamify. This is something that my brother and I have been obsessed with since I was back home over Christmas break. Because I was home. I don't know if anybody else has ever played multi-person solitaire. But this is something that my family's really into, where we all play. So most people know how to play solitaire. But this version, you play with other people. You can play on each other's stacks. Oh. So it's crazy. It's all about speed. But my family started changing the rules up while I was away. So now every time we play, they'll make a new rule at the beginning of it.
Interesting.
And usually this kind of thing would drive me crazy, but I really got into it this time, and we were just coming up with different rules every time. And it sort of prompted, like, there were versions of it where you would flip a stack and then everyone would have to get up and run around the table and then sit back down.
That's fun.
It got like super active. It was really, or you could only play other people's stacks, so people are just reaching across the table.
It's crazy.
I know we're getting away from art on this, but wrapping it back to this, it sort of prompted this whole initiative of just sort of looking at different aspects of our life and saying, how do we gamify this? How do we change the rules a little bit? So coming back to what we're doing right now, I picked out 3, and I wanted to see if you could guess which one of these I was going to talk about.
All right.
All of these are, like, I think, amazing pieces. I would love to dive into any of them.
Well, tell me
right now, but
give me. I don't know if this is cheating. Could you give me like a 1-sentence blurb about each of these?
Yeah. Well, and I'd be happy to talk about each one of them too, because we just went through a bunch of yours as well. But why don't we just jump into each one? I want to hear what you think first of all before I say anything.
Okay, sure.
And then we'll dive into each.
Okay, so this is Anthem.
Yeah. So I know Anthem character.
Anthem character models are super rad. Just the level of hard surface, bullshittery that makes me so giddy as a mech fan.
Dude, I love it. I get into flow just looking at this piece. Like, scrolling through all of these detail shots are phenomenal experiences alone.
It's so balanced between soft and hard surface too. Like now I'm looking at it, like
that's such a big part
that
of
almost like padded gambeson kind of thing going on above the armor.
Oh yeah,
beauty.
Yeah. And you'll see that style replicated in a lot of the pieces that I
like
pulled
it.
up.
I like it.
So there's that one. This one, very different style.
Love Pascal Blanchet.
Incredible colors.
I don't know if I'm saying that right.
I know. I have no idea how to say it.
Blanchet? I want to say it's Pascal Blanchet.
Pascal, if you come on the podcast, we will pronounce your name correctly. We'd love to have you, brother. So that's another one. I'm not going to say anything about it.
Okay, that one's good.
And then, of course,
some
good old Destiny.
This is my phone background.
Is it right now?
It is right now.
Dude, it's so good. I mean, I didn't even see all of these other. I'm just going to pop this open for a second.
Jablonski.
I have to go through the rest of these later tonight because
fantastic.
I hadn't realized how many of these had, and then in each one of them, there's just like,
you'll like it, and I won't. I didn't put it in mine, but his name is Brian Monkus. He's another Destiny artist. So good. Well, very similar to this. Amazing. So good. Okay,
so what's your guess out of the blocks? Which one do you think I really want to talk about?
This is for modern.
Yeah, this is my modern inspiration.
Well, let's see. I want to pick. Part of me wants to pick Pascal because he's presenting it in a new way that is unlike a lot of other stuff that we look at daily. And I know that you are very into like finding new lines of thought and forming new connections. So part of me wants to go there.
Some good thinking.
This one, knowing you and your past in art and like, your style, this also screams out at me that it's like your jam, because I know like, you have awards for projects of like sci-fi armor, and you've very much grounded yourself in that. So I could totally see this being your jam as well. The Destiny stuff, while I do think it's inspiring to you, I want to say less so because this is not
the creak of the chair goes through. Oh, so loud.
Not to discount it. Of course, this is beautiful art, but it's 2D, it's concept stuff, and it's rad as like key art images, but I don't know if it's something that would provide you personally with more than just the initial read. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is the kind of thing that you might look at, take it and be like, that's cool, and then move on. Whereas something like this or something like this, there's a lot more like you could get lost for hours looking at like, oh, how did they model that little thing there, and so on and so forth.
So why do you think that I would enjoy Pascal's piece more than the Destiny one if both of them are different than what I usually do?
Because I feel like Pascal's is I want to preface by saying I fucking love Pyotr Jablonski's work. I look at this stuff constantly. Like I said, this is my phone background right now. It's rad. But I think it's telling stories, but they're kind of stories you kind of can guess. Whereas Pascal's stuff is so different that there's almost a depth to it where you could look at this for a long time and kind of suss out different stories, or there's more to it to chew on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's why this one reads to me more as something you'd be interested in than the Pyotr one.
Well, I'm going to give it to you right now and just say, yeah, it was this one. I thought I made it pretty hard by having some really good ones up there.
I was 50-50 on these two.
Yep.
I was real close to calling it this one, but yeah.
I was going to give you a chance to just guess out of the block, but I really wanted to jump off of what you were just saying, because
Go for it.
I think that's exactly what did draw me to it, which is that, and I hadn't actually even made that distinction between specifically the Destiny pieces and this one, but I like how in Pascal's piece you become a part of the creation by saying what the fuck is going on here. I'm gonna make this story, right? Like, you can project so much into this piece of art. And I think you can go pretty deep with this as an artist, because that's both a strength and a weakness of when you just have a piece of art that isn't presented with any kind of narrative, is that people can interpret it in a myriad of different ways, infinite number of ways. And that's one reason why a lot of times I'm split and why I like the marketing side of art, because you can then take a message, package it up, and be relatively sure of how it's going to be interpreted.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of just pure enjoyment, and just art in its purest form, a piece like this appeals to me not only because the elements and principles of art are used beautifully, but also because it is so open that it allows you to project yourself and your own stories into it.
Yeah.
But digging into the piece a little bit, I think another thing that really stands out is the use of color here is so unique in that sort of that wall of amazing art that you see on ArtStation. Pieces like this really show up because it is so different. The fact that the colors are so sort of dissonant in a lot of ways, like you don't see this mix a whole lot.
No.
The saturation level and just like the overlay of the texture makes it so interesting to look at and just really unique.
Yeah. It's oozing like almost like a sickness that lends itself to the mood of the painting, or like, or it's not a painting, I'm sorry, of the render, where like, you know, the colors are reinforcing mood, theme, story, all of it, and kind of influencing what could just be like, if you just saw this in black and white, you might have a very different take on it, but just through the use of color, pulling more out of a piece in a really smart way. And it's very minimal. It's like 2, maybe 3 colors, where, you know, in my personal work, I tend to overcolor and I tend to think too hard about it and overdo it. Whereas like sometimes like the minimalism gets you so much mileage.
Yeah.
And I think this piece as a whole speaks to the idea that like leaving room for the audience to fill in the gaps, you get a lot more out of it than by answering everything for them or trying to present them a whole complete thing.
Yeah, both in terms of the story that it's presenting and the actual artistic execution, it leaves a lot of space to sort of fill in the gaps. And I think that's another thing that I love about it, is that it is both realistic and it has this touch of stylization. Yeah. And you'll see that in some of the other pieces that I've chosen too, is that I'm really drawn to, like where you just had that incredible photorealistic piece. I can respect that and appreciate it, but it does not appeal to me in the same way that more stylized things do, despite the fact that most of the things that I usually am working on are realistic.
I think that's fun dichotomy.
That often happens.
That's the fun dichotomy of us too, is like, you know, when you're caught up in a world of realism all the time, you tend to want the opposite. When you're caught up in a world of the opposite all the time, you tend to want realism. So like, I'm constantly searching and trying to get better at realism, whereas you're thinking outside the box because you got that on lock. You know what I mean? So I think that it's funny how we picked these modern influences, because they're the exact opposite of each other.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Because I easily could have gone far in the stylized direction.
Yeah.
Like I could have chosen Overwatch stuff is, to me, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I mean, I've tried to do that kind of design in the past.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is really hard. And I think that's another reason I like it, is just because it's kind of mind-blowing to me how people can get across so much in so little.
Yeah.
Yeah, so though I could talk forever about this one.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where you just keep, the more you look at it, the more you find to think about, which is awesome. I love that. If
you had to come up with one story right now, do you have one that kind of pops into your head? Or I was starting to think of, like, I'll give you some of mine while you're thinking, of some of the ones that, I guess there's like this whole idea of innocence is one word that comes to mind, and then like sort of this child being plugged into technology. But then I was also thinking about that idea of how somebody might interpret it wrong, or that I might be getting it totally wrong. And maybe Pascal was thinking of this as like, well, this is a commentary on these people who go to work for the United States government, who are in the drone program, and when they plug themselves into their drones, they are acting as immature as children, the way that they bomb out cities in Iraq and kill innocent civilians. Maybe that was it.
Maybe he's political with it.
Right. And maybe that's really the weakness of a piece like this, is that I've completely interpreted it as like, oh, it's this light, futuristic sci-fi piece, when it actually has a really deep meaning.
I think it's purposefully left up to the viewer, because like my interpretation is a lot more fantasy sci-fi, where I don't even bother trying to connect it to real world stuff, because I don't understand. A lot of times I'm just blissfully ignorant in the real world. I just live in the fantasy world where, this robot nation has built up around this girl and her society, to the point where, she had a head transplant with this robot, and now her body goes off to do the bidding of the robot, but she has to return and connect with, like, they're eternally tied, because part of her is in the robot and the robot is part of her. So, like,
that's so good.
They come back. They always have to come back and reconnect, that. And this is that moment.
That's great. Like, they're feeding off each other's energy.
Yeah. Super cool. Ooh. Such a rad piece,
all right,
dude.
We gotta keep going.
That was a good choice.
There's so many other good ones.
That was a really good choice. We got deep and metaphysical.
All right, jump back into your Google folder.
Okay.
See your other stuff.
So now we're gonna jump back a little bit and talk about some inspirations that we had for roughly the time that we were kind of getting into 3D art. Yeah. Some things that this is something that I looked at a lot to answer questions, because I had a lot of questions when it came to character art, anatomy, skin, wrinkles, how to solve those issues. And one of the best at it, in my opinion, is don't do this to me.
There we go.
Luke Starkey. Luke Starkey, I'm sure many know him. He is so inspiring to me, because he does so many things right, but he does them in the coolest way possible. He's tackling the problems of anatomy. He's tackling how skin lays over anatomy, and he's also tackling how to design badass monsters and creatures that follow all of the rules that you expect them to follow. These deltoids, or these pectorals, I mean, are human pectorals, but they're just pushed to a level that makes them alien. These are deltoids, right? These deltoids
shoulder muscles.
These shoulder muscles are human, but pushed to a point that makes them alien, and so on and so forth. But he's also just this master of this skin look, where there's little wrinkles going over the connection points and stretching where skin stretches, and in the neck you see like the tendons going up through, and then up into these head wrinkles. Like, he's got such a handle and such a grasp on how to pull together all of these things that we expect from real human, humanoid creatures, and he pulls them together brilliantly. I looked at this guy, every single project I did through school, I had some piece from Luke Starkey on my Pure Ref boards, multiple pieces, because this was the mark I was striving to hit, and I never did, and I never will, because he's always going to be that much better than me. But I will always look at it. I mean, like, the little veins going through the skin, it's all so subtle but so tastefully done that I could look at this for hours and just kind of admire the craftsmanship that goes into something like this.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous piece. And I feel like it's one of those pieces that I would have looked at early on in my ZBrush career before really touching it all, and be like, this looks pretty easy. Like, you just take a muscular guy, you move his triceps up a little bit, and you make him like a cool face. And this is, I think, one of those benchmarks that the deeper you get into ZBrush, like, you could look back at this every year for like the next decade and still be like, damn, I'm just not quite that good yet.
Right.
Like, all of us could be there.
Yeah.
But the balance of details here, and just where he chose to exaggerate the veins, and where he chose to exaggerate muscles, and then how you actually exaggerate them, is so complicated, because it's one of those things that average people don't realize they understand so well. It's like when it comes to faces, for instance.
Right.
It's like most people don't realize how good they are at spotting a face that's a little bit off. And as soon as you see somebody with plastic surgery, like, I think that's a great example of a time when like even average people can just notice like when that when the balance is just a little bit off.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming back to this piece, I can even see like the influence on one of your last student projects on specifically like the pecs here.
Yeah.
I remember when you were doing those pieces, that it reminds me a lot of that. And when you first pulled this up, I immediately thought of Alec, who was on our podcast last time.
Alec is the one who introduced me to Luke Starkey.
Okay, this is totally his style. So
yeah,
he's gonna get there before any of us.
Oh, he's dude. Yeah, I mean, I remember one of the first classes I had with Alec. He did a character called Lockjaw.
Yeah,
that he got exactly a ton of he got a ton of like accolades for, which well deserved. It's a fantastic character. But I remember in that project, he was showing me Luke Starkey, and he was like, "This is what I've been looking at," and I'm like, "This is fantastic. I need this in my life more." And that's when I took the dive. So shout out to Alec for that. And
if you're not following him on Instagram, he was inspiring me over Christmas break to pick up my sketchbook, because
he's a great.
He's doing his cyborg. Was that the one?
Yeah, he's got a cyborg piece.
I think he was posting some updates on that, and it was like it's gorgeous stuff.
It's rad. Also, I wanted to point out that something that, especially when I was starting out, I didn't have. Now with the hindsight, I realize what it was. But what's great about Starkey's work here is that he's got every level of it nailed down: primary forms, secondary forms, then tertiary forms. His primary forms are solid. Like if you reduced this thing down to just primitives with spheres,
you just squint your eyes.
Just squint your eyes and blur it out. It reads perfectly. And then when you zoom in a little bit and you start reading secondary forms like the muscle breakup of the pectoralis and the deltoids, it's all right. And then you get into the things like the skin wrinkles going over it and the veins and all of that, and it's all perfect as well. So like he's got it at every level. It's hitting on firing on all cylinders, and that's something that I think that's what drew me to this as a burgeoning character artist. And what I'm still coming back to now with better understanding of the form and the craft, that I'm looking at like, oh, that's why I love this, is because he got it all there.
I think I can also see how it's inspiring your recent gym conquest.
Yeah.
You just got to keep doing more of those trap exercises.
I want to look like this freaking alien by the end of the year.
It's beach time, baby. His abs are a little funky, though. I don't know if you want to have abs like that.
I'll take them.
They're pretty defined, though.
A weird 4-pack is better than a 1-pack, so it's only up from here.
Well, yeah, I wonder how many more abs he has down there. Because if you just had 2 long ones on top, they're kind of droopy.
Yeah.
It works on him. I don't know if they'd work on you.
I'm sure.
It's got like that one little middle ab here.
Yeah, that's what I need. I want that middle ab.
I want the middle ab.
How do you target just your middle ab?
7-pack. Cool. Was that your
that's what inspired me at the beginning of my 3D journey.
Beautiful.
Still inspiring me.
Okay, so I've got one more of these little games for us to
play. I love the game.
And I'll let you actually guess on this one, so you can go through the 3 different ones I've got up here.
So we've got a Deus Ex, a Deus Ex character from Frederick Daust, which is super solid. Got that same balance of soft surface, cloth, hard surface, arm.
And I'll admit again, I didn't make this easy on you. All 3 of these were things that I was looking at when I started studying character art.
So this is a trick question. All
right, that was the same on the last one, and you got it right. So
okay.
I'm kind of maybe you know me better as a friend than I thought.
I'll try to tune into what I think what you were thinking.
I was impressed.
All right, and then we got Wasp by Michael Plouffe. My God, I looked at this one so much, dude. An
absolute classic. And his breakdown.
He's got a breakdown too.
Insane.
It's so good.
The whole ZBrush summit they did.
You want to know a fun fact? See this background? That's the Gnomon stage.
I thought you were gonna say it was your house.
No,
that's pretty cool.
That's the
pretty
Gnomon
much
stage.
Your house, though.
Yeah, it pretty much was my house for 3 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I made an HDRI off of this.
Is that an environment in? Did Marco actually take this shot, or is that something?
I don't think so. I think someone else has made a few really good HDRIs of the Gnomon stage and put them out there. But enough about the background. This is so crazy, and I looking at the breakdown, the amount of detail and just like the amount of forms here. I mean, every little inch of this thing is covered in something to look at, which is amazing. But as an initial read, like, it's got good areas of rest and good areas of noise at the same time.
And that's why it's been cool to see the 3D prints that he did of it too.
Yeah,
because it has
so
those
sick.
really good primary reads as well.
Super cool. All right, so right now this is standing out over this one in terms of what I think you personally would be looking at. And then, oh, come on, you can't do this. Okay, so now this has a lot more going on with it, because this isn't just a cool piece of armor. This has the Mass Effect behind it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you played Andromeda. Did you play Andromeda?
I basically haven't played a game ever.
Oh, right. I should know that. I'm silly.
So,
okay.
No, but I watched my other roommate play it, so it's got to count for something.
I completed the main story of this game, and it is rad. It was fun, even though it had issues. It was super fun, and I love Mass Effect. So, to me, this is awesome. Now, in terms of the art going on here, I'll try to disconnect from my personal bias towards it. I think that this is very in line with your piece, the one that we're looking at on your wall, the one that you have printed. That's everywhere. This is in line with what you were doing in your 3D art career, but I don't know if I feel like it might be too close in that, like, I don't know if you
throw you off here.
I think you might have known of this and been looking at this as like some reference, but I don't know if it necessarily inspired you or this is the inspiration for your piece. That's a tough one.
It's hard to call it. Which one did you do?
If I'm gonna call it, I'm actually gonna say because your work carries a lot of the same tunes as this, I'm gonna say this was the one. Yeah. It had to be.
It really was a toss up between this and the Wasp, especially. But I easily could have talked about Fred's piece here as well.
Yeah,
this one's all rad. Of these I spent countless hours looking at, but I had to finally choose this one because of specifically this last shot. I have probably spent more time looking at this image than any other piece of art on the planet. I mean, when I was working on that lunar suit guy, it was like, this was just the ultimate to me. I just could not understand everything down to the design. It was still so early in the career for me that it was the first time that I'd ever like perceived like this kind of fabric. I'd never seen that before. I was like, I don't know how they got these seams. Like, was that done in ZBrush or Painter, or it's just like such a cool design? Can I just use that? Or is that like, do all jackets have that line? I don't even know the basics, right? And just looking at this and the way that, again, going back to that Anthem piece, the way that the hard surface pieces are balanced out with the soft underneath fabric, that was really what stood out to me about this specific one. My whole life, I've always had, so I won't go too deep into this, but my brother and I would play with our friends out in the woods all the time. We were these superheroes called Amazing Babies. Don't even get me started on it. We had tons. We're
talking about that later.
It's for our next episode. And when I was, probably because of all the Bionicles I played with as a kid, I had sort of the Space Marine that I created in my head, and I looked like that. And when I first saw this character, it was just like, it sent chills down my back of like, oh my God, this is so close to that. And the reason I think I got so into the lunar suit when I was working on it was that I really was trying to create that character that I had lived so many years as.
That's awesome.
So just the obsession with this specific render here really came from a childhood thing. God, dude, I'm looking at the pouches on this. I literally just ripped those off. That's like exactly the pouch that's on my guy. That's so embarrassing.
No,
I did not even know that. Wow.
This is,
I think even like the orange rectangle on there is like straight off of it. Well, you guys can sue me now.
No, this is inspiring me now. Right now, I want to do this. I want to go home and make something because of this. Because this is the realm that I never hit. I never did a sci-fi armor piece because I'm scared of it, because of how much is there and how much you have to manage to do something like that. And so like props on you for like seeing this and running with that.
But that was because I was naive enough
but
to
I think it's
think
also
that I could do something like that.
I'm also realizing now that there's a bit of like a difference in our foundations that I'm sure we're going to get to in a minute, because I can tell that you are very sci-fi oriented in inspiration, and I'm very fantasy oriented in inspiration. So
interesting.
I'm excited to jump into our early inspirations because I think they're going to mimic that same line.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. I'm interested. Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Let's do it.
So.
Actually. Yeah. Why don't we just go ahead with that, and then we'll do the classic piece last.
Yeah.
That works.
Okay. So my early inspiration, the first pieces of art that gave me direction in my life came from World of Warcraft. Now that's probably not a surprise, because so many people had a connection with that game. I'm not gonna say everybody, because there are some people that didn't. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't me. So many people had a connection with that game, and it's inspired so many people. So I picked art from what I consider the three like fathers of WoW, which is Wei Wang, Samwise Didier, and Chris Metzen. Everybody knows, or everybody who's familiar with WoW, who has been around WoW for a while, should know these names. These are the guys who literally like Wei Wang came along a little later in the process, but Samwise Didier and Chris Metzen were the guys literally like there are lined paper sketches of night elves and orcs and humans, and they crafted this thing that became World of Warcraft and became the Warcraft universe that influenced my life immeasurably, because I remember when I first saw somebody playing World of Warcraft, it blew my mind, because I was like, what? You can turn into a bear, you can have a sword, you can like ride a giant war kodo, like there's so much going on here. It's like this whole new world to me. I was probably like 8 or 9 at the time. I think I got the game when I was 10. But I got into the art of it through a game guide that my mom had given me, and in the back of the book were things like this. And so I started taking a dive on the internet and finding pieces like this, and I had already been sketching and drawing for a long time. And so to see people who are just sketching and drawing like I was, but were doing something more with it. They weren't just drawing things that were fun that they liked. They were creating a world with it that meant more, because it made itself into this obviously this World of Warcraft, right? So I remember this inspiring me so much to like follow that path of like, don't just draw nothing, because at that point I was just drawing because I like to draw. I started creating stories with my drawings and trying to create characters that have more going on. Like this isn't just a cool character, like this is a chieftain of some sort, a tribal warrior defending his homeland from some kind of evil that's encroaching with like this, like with the lightning and all that. Like there's so much more there. It's a moment in time, not just a thing. And I think that this kind of stuff started really inking, creeping into my art around the time that I found this stuff. So these guys are I owe probably my whole career to this kind of stuff. And what I like about Metzen as well, in particular, is like, as far as technical drawing skills go, like it's not perfect, but the attitude, the idea is there, and it's different enough to resonate with people, especially with me. Because I remember looking at this and going like, oh, like I could do something like that, and then it would inspire me to try something similar. And instead of looking at like Wei Wang stuff is always like, I don't think I'll ever be able to paint like that. Like that's just on a different realm, but it's also inspiring because of that. Like they're inspiring in different ways. One is like you can make it doing this, but there's also this unattainable pro level that you can also probably get to if you spent your entire life doing it.
You go back to the first one you were showing again. I think what you were just saying is really, really cool about this is that, yeah, maybe the artistic quality, like, it's just because, well, what's amazing about it is that I don't really know anything about World of Warcraft, but there are parts of this design that are so strong that I know I have seen this character other times, and I can remember those characters, and they were... Like, there are parts of the... Seen as a design rather than a piece of art, I think is really important here.
Right.
And I could still see this as a dope-ass tattoo. But he really... Like, he just communicated what was in his mind really, really well with this piece.
Yeah.
And that's why I actually even find it more inspiring than that full color one that you just showed. It's just that there's so much... character to this one,
exactly,
and
like,
it is obviously just carried through with all these people who have recreated them over like decades.
Yeah, it is. And like there's like it's the idea versus of like or I guess and having an idea and communicating an idea versus technically executing something beautifully, because at the same time as this is communicating a really strong idea, and that's why Metzen went on to create World of Warcraft in large part, because his ideas were so good. Samwise is in the middle, like he's got both idea and execution at really strong levels. And then there's Wei Wang, who's just a fantastic painter, and he's probably got fantastic ideas as well.
I'm sure it is, yeah.
I'm not trying to discount anybody here, but like they're all hitting different points of it at a very strong level. And so I remember all three of these guys really forming my identity as an artist, probably from the time I was 10 to about the time I was like 18. I think from 10 until the end of high school, I was playing, consuming, drawing World of Warcraft. I still look through my old sketchbooks, and every page is a different Warcraft character. Me coming up with new armor sets, me coming up with new stories of people in the Warcraft universe, because I was emulating these guys.
That's what I was going to ask you, was were you trying to just like line for line redraw some of these, or were you always... So you would just do both?
Like I would go to, like, for instance, I used to go to church for 3 hours every Sunday, and it was torture for me. But I got through it by sitting there and just sketching out of my head off of nothing.
See, there's a goodness to church.
Exactly.
Make Damon a great artist.
And then there's other times where there was one time where I don't think it was a Wei Wang piece, but worldofwarcraft.com used to have a fan art section, and I would, because I wanted so badly to be like the people on that site, I literally would take my monitor. This was back when they were squares. I would take my monitor, slide it forward on my desk, move the keyboards out of the way, tilt it backwards as much as I could, put a piece of lined paper over it, and just start tracing. I know that that's terrible to do as if you're trying to, like, be a serious artist, but I was like 10. I was 11 years old. I didn't know the badness. I didn't know that it was a bad thing to do. So I was just sitting there going like, I want to draw like these guys. Maybe if I actually just draw what they've done, I'll learn something from it.
It's all just a balance, right? And I almost have started going back, and I wish that I had been one of those people who did more fan art and copied more artists, because I think it's a great way to learn at the same time. As long as you're balancing it with doing your own designs and doing stuff just straight out of your head, which gives you kind of that chance to meld your style and somebody else's, trying to do those master studies, right?
Yeah.
Those are a tried and true practice.
They are.
Across all art disciplines.
Definitely.
And I think it's actually something that I resisted really early on, because I really thought like I could never bring myself to sketch over something. And now I constantly find myself like wishing that I had done that, because you pick up so much of the shape language and the line quality, all these sort of gaps that I feel like I have now in my art knowledge and ability is because maybe I didn't really do as many master studies early on.
Interesting.
So yeah, there's definitely two sides to that one.
Yeah.
Those are really good pieces.
I don't recommend anybody to trace things,
especially not directly on the monitor.
That was
like there's a certain
that was
to come up.
I probably ruined that monitor, and I just didn't know it, and my dad didn't know it because he didn't know how to use computers either. So
there's scratches all over the monitor, Damon.
I think it was a mechanical pencil too, to make matters worse. Yeah.
Just really digging it in there.
Not the best.
Okay.
All right.
Beautiful.
Where
Well, this will go pretty quick because I've just got one here. That's a little jump ahead.
Yes.
Dude. All right. So
Yes.
I think I've already mentioned Bionicles. Bionicles were really big for me as a kid. But when I saw this movie, I've seen Mary Poppins probably 100 times, and I've seen Treasure Planet probably 200 times. And I actually just rewatched it after moving out here about a year ago.
Still holds up.
Of course it does, man. I mean, the animations are like on another level.
So good.
But this character in particular, John Silver, was his whole arm and the eye scanner thing. Again, going back to Amazing Babies, like this was like I had to have a robotic arm. Ever after I saw this movie, I was just like, yep. And my character just lost an arm. He's got a robot arm, and it flips open like a pocket knife, and it's got every gadget. And crack those eggs, and it's got a flamethrower on there. It's got just a regular hand too. This was when I think about like going back and maybe rebooting a character. If I ever want to do like a personal project like that, this is definitely one that I would consider doing because it has like that combination of the hard surface and the soft stuff as well.
Dude, he's
plenty
so cool.
of soft stuff.
This whole movie was inspiring.
Oh God,
I love it.
Such a cool story, and yeah, him just as a character, the way that he moved.
Yeah,
I loved everything about him. His little morph buddy.
Oh, so cute.
It's all coming back to me. It was cool watching the movie too because there were a lot of parts that I'd completely forgotten.
Yeah.
Especially later on in the movie, like whole sections of it that I felt like I'd never seen.
There's little pieces that stick out to me. Like I'll always remember the wind sailing or the star sailing or what is it? Yeah. Wind, you know what I mean? He was surfboarding
like that
in
music
space.
Soundtrack going. Just like feel like a hero.
Yeah. So a few fun facts about this movie. One, Long John Silver's arm was one of the first times that they implemented a 3D animated piece into a 2D movie.
I didn't know
that whole arm is 3D. And then comped on top of the 2D animations. It's pretty cool, right? So like if you look at it, it's got it does this stuff that 3D art can do, like overlap perfectly and maintain perfect perspective, and then against the 2D plate, there's this weird disconnect that makes it super unique. So I recommend rewatching it and trying to see that 3D-ness to it because it's different.
Yeah, well, I think picturing when it flips open, it really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't think you could really hand animate that. You could, but it would take
save a lot of time. This way.
Yeah. And then the other one is this was the Treasure Planet game was the first game I got on the PS2, and I played the shit out of that game. I played so much of it, and I remember one time like I used to have this floating bed. I almost killed myself over this game is where I'm getting to, but I used to have a bed that my cousin built that was suspended from the ceiling and built into the corner of the wall so that underneath it was almost like having a top bunk bed, but with no legs underneath. Right. So I had all my stuff under there. And then across from that was my TV. My PS2 was on a high shelf. So to get to my PS2, I had to reach across a gap to access it. So I went over to put in the Treasure Planet disc. And in reaching over, I lost my grip on something on the support beam. And I fell from roughly like halfway up the wall, from like 3 feet up, not super high, but as a kid it's pretty high, and I landed on my head and on the disc and snapped the disc in half. Oh no. And I never got to play it again. So this is like a long lost. This game was like my first game on the PS2, and then I lost it, and I'll never get it again.
I had no idea it was even ever made as a game.
It was so fun. You could do the windsurfing. And you collected things, and I remember like playing that section of the game over and over and over again because I thought that was the coolest thing to me was like windsurfing. Yeah, so fun.
I'll have to just look back at that.
Yeah, and also I did a character very similar to Long John Silver at one point, like almost exactly him, but more alien. He's a fat bartender with a mechanical arm, of course, and he's shaking a thing. Yeah, super Long John Silver, but super rad.
Yeah, I'm not surprised so many of our things overlapped here.
But exactly what I was saying, sci-fi.
Yeah, you nailed it.
And mine was fantasy.
Yeah,
it is that, and I think it's kind of interesting to see where, like, if I sit down to draw something nowadays, draw something out of my head, it's usually something roughly fantasy-esque, but I also think that it gives a more stylized approach to everything that I do. Whereas you sit down to draw and you do these rad
I have
mechs.
a book of mechs here.
Yeah.
And literally my newest thing is every single morning, the first thing I do when I roll out of bed is hit a 5-minute timer on my Fitbit and sketch a mech for 5 minutes. Like
wow.
Every day, just to get those art gears turning. But it's always a sci-fi mech.
Yeah,
you nailed
exactly.
it.
And and because you've been consuming it for so long, you're just so innately tuned to do like sci-fi details and stuff. Like when you showed me like, you know, your lunar suit, I was like blown away by the level of detail. But it's because from a young age you've been looking at these things and learning from them, whereas I was looking at like smooth armor and much more stylized, simplified forms. So now my brain works in that way and your brain works in that way.
And now all we
really
want
cool.
is the other person's ability.
Exactly. All I want is to be able to do what you do. You know what I mean?
And all I want to do is take my brain out and swap it with yours, like that Pascal piece. Just swap some heads.
Let's just do that.
There it is. Transplant.
Which, obviously, you've got the bigger head because you're way smarter.
Actually, I think the way that we measured it in my family is that because my mom and brother actually have smaller heads but have higher IQs, we think that my larger head means that it takes longer for the message to travel from one side to the other. So I've thought a lot about that because I've wondered why I feel dumb compared to my family.
Dude, I've got a big head too. That makes sense to me.
I think it's an art thing. I think there's creativity when the idea's going across. Usually gets there a little distorted.
Yeah.
But along the way, it's like, oh, it's a different color by the time it got to this side. And that's how we make cool art.
That's awesome.
Okay, we're going deep.
So now we are...
Yeah, okay. So this is probably where it's going to get different.
It is going to get weird.
It's going to get weird?
I think it's going to get weird.
Okay, I don't think my piece is weird, so let's see what you got.
So
we're going classic.
We're going classical. This is like classic art. I almost grabbed Van Gogh Starry Night, but I decided against it. Dude, like I almost did.
There's Mona Lisa and Starry Night. If you ask like any person off the sidewalk, they'd give you one of those too. You're like, Lisa, I can't do this.
Starry Night. That's it. But I didn't. So I grabbed two slightly different ones. The first one is a sculpture by Edgar Degas called, I believe it's called Little Dancer of 14 Years. And I wrote down that it was sculpted in 1881. So roughly that time period. But I've seen this in person. It's at the Norton Simon Museum here in Los Angeles. And it is so cool to me. I think what jumps out to me is like, again, that mixture of the soft fabric on top of, you know, a bronze sculpture. It's so interesting. And like, her composure and her posture and the posing of it all, it perfectly captures this, like, her moment. This isn't even the piece. I'm now looking at it. Yeah. That's a ripoff. But from the back, she's got this cool stance. I really like the way the arms are locked. Like, but this piece is so rad because it's like, it's so strong, but it's also like she's super delicate, and it's like, I don't know. It really reaches out to me in the way she's looking up and the way the light bounces off her face. Just something about it. It's like one of those things where you can look at a painting of a triangle and you're just like, I don't know what it is, but something about this just speaks to me. It's the same thing here.
Maybe I gotta look at it longer because I think this piece is ugly as fuck.
I respect you. I respect that.
It's funny because the first shot here, I actually liked, regardless of the fact that it might be a little bit different. I think that this one is probably a similar look from the back, and I like this okay, but this in the front, it looks like she's a burn victim on her leg. Her head, I feel like her hair just created a really weird profile because of the way that it's just mashed onto her head. It's like when you scan somebody and you don't actually add their hair on, but it has all their full hair projected onto their head.
Sure.
It's like very distorted. And then there's this weird mix of materials here. And yeah, to me, like, I think I just need, obviously there's a tremendous amount that other people can see in this because this guy is a legend and I am not. But I do not see it the same way that you do at all.
Okay. And I think it's interesting because you love it for the reasons, or you hate it for the reasons that I love it.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot to that. There's probably a lot to that.
There's
That's
just
really I like
yeah.
that, actually.
There's some things to me like the flow of how I don't know if this angle's doing the flow justice, but like when you see it in person and you're walking around it as well, she's just got this really. There's these nice swoops that go through the whole thing, and like the structure of it just works for me.
And that may be different too, is that when you see it in person, like we're looking at a sculpture in a photo that's pretty low res, that probably does it no justice at all. It's probably very different to see it. How tall is it?
So it's on a pedestal in the center of a room. The pedestal is roughly like chest height for me, and I'm like 5'10", so probably like 4-foot pedestal. And then it's probably like a 2.5 foot sculpture.
Okay, it's bigger than I thought.
So it's a little, it's not a tiny thing. It's good size, about 2.5, maybe 3 feet. And it's in the center of the room with the light above it, and there's paintings all around it. So like I think seeing it in person probably shaped a lot of my opinion of this piece.
The setting has a lot to do
definitely
with it. Yeah.
But I think like what struck me when I first saw it was like, I was getting into character art, so seeing a body and the rhythm with it, and it's in a pose that I haven't seen before, and the anatomy is there, it's solid. Like I love the way the clavicles pop. That works for me. The neck and all of the shoulders, how they're pulled back and everything.
What about those burned legs though?
Well, she's wearing leggings. She's got tights on because she's a ballerina.
Dude, I did ballet almost my whole life, and tights did not look like that. They're
well,
tight.
This was in 1800s. They didn't have the best.
They didn't have
tights. Yeah, they just had shitty tights
for her big sister.
Yeah, but I think it was cool. Like he has a painting as well of like a group of ballerinas practicing.
Yeah.
I don't know why this guy. I mean, yeah. Anyway,
he liked young girls.
We can
go there.
But I think it's cool that it's an interesting subject matter, and I've never seen it presented this way. Especially I love the mixture of materials. Like I've seen a lot of bronze sculptures, and like when they have just like fully sculpted dresses and stuff, like it all tends to fit together because it's all the same material read and all of that. But there's something that brings this more to life, that she's actually got a cloth dress to me. There's more of a dynamicy to it. So anyways, this is one of the cool ones that I like. And then there's this one that's also at the Norton Simon that I remembered when I was looking up that other the dancer. I just love this piece because the pose is so goofy, but also like the armor is so cool. So like this guy is simultaneously a badass and the goofiest guy you would see on the battlefield.
I love it.
Like he'd waltz in his black armor and he's all cool, and then he like strikes this pose and you're like, oh, who is he? You know what I mean? So like I like this one because it's like these details are the type of things that inspired me as a kid anyways, like the fantasy armor and stuff, and this is the real version of it, with all these cool ornate things going on, but then just also the goofiness and silliness that I strive to inject into my life constantly is also very strong in this piece.
I know it would have sucked to be alive during the medieval days, but how cool would it have been if you like had a suit of armor like that? Oh my god! And I mean, like every generation like added more filigree to it.
Yeah,
like you were sculpting, but your suit of armor, and it had to keep you alive.
I follow some Instagram account of people who nowadays do. I think it's called the World Medieval Federation of Combat or something or Worldwide Medieval Combat Federation or something like that. But these are guys who literally meet up on weekends and fight each other in suits of armor. And it's the coolest thing.
Okay.
It's super dumb. I should
open my heart up to it, though.
It's super dumb and, like, silly looking, but it's like, you get to act out your knight fantasy. Why not?
Yeah.
It's super cool.
I'm sure it's way more fun when you're actually
And they're actually hitting each other with swords and mallets and stuff like that. It's rad.
Badass.
Yeah. Okay. So those are my classical inspirations.
The lighting is amazing in that. I love just like this nice Z shape that you're getting across here.
Execution is solid.
Yeah, the colors are really cool here. I almost like that you have a photo of it in the frame, because I think going back to like the idea of how the setting impacts a piece like this, I think that sells it a lot as well.
The frame definitely helps like ground you in the time as well. It looks like like an old looking wooden frame with like burnt edges and stuff.
I don't really think about frames that much anymore, but there's
so much.
There is a lot that goes into it, and it adds so much to a piece, usually in very subtle ways, but it upgrades it a lot, and it's something that you never see in digital pieces, even in like the prints that are usually coming out now. Very, very rarely do people frame them. Yeah. And I wonder how much you could actually pull out of a digital piece with a really nice frame. I never see them present
a lot. Like right now, actually, since I just moved apartments, and we've got all of these prints that we bought, Shelby and I bought at Lightbox Expo from like our favorite artists. And last night I had bought a frame that I was supposed to use to for a gift on Christmas, but it just didn't come through. So I had this frame lying around, and we grabbed one of our favorite prints that we bought and jerry-rigged it and stuck it in this frame, and it just like it makes it pop so much. Yeah. Just having it presented in that way, because it goes from just being like this cool piece of art that's printed on a piece of paper that you could just easily find lying on a desk to, no, this is a thing that is being displayed on a wall very, very purposefully. And so now we have it up on the wall, and I love it. And I want to do it with all of the prints that we have now.
I can't wait to see your place with all this decorative.
We're still working. Right now we literally have like those one print and one other thing up on the wall. But soon we're going to get some more stuff going up.
I mean, it is really interesting when you think about, because again, a frame is usually on the more subtle side. Like the star of the piece is always the artwork. But the frame for most things that we see now are an ArtStation background with an ad, right? There's always an ad. And I think subconsciously there are all these you have your other tabs open, you've got like your clock that you're perceiving time, and it's all of those pieces are feeding into the experience of looking at this piece of art. And while we don't think about those, I mean, even just popping something at a full screen when you go through ArtStation, I bet would just have a different impact.
Yeah, that's why I like taking my favorite pieces of art and putting them as my desktop background.
That's probably one reason why it really looks. Yeah, I mean, I love looking over at your desktop just because of that. And I've never really thought about. I always think it's just because it takes up more of the screen, which is a big part of it.
Sure.
But I think it is also that it just has like a nice minimalistic black frame around it just from the monitor.
Definitely.
Okay, cool.
Well, I want to see your classic picks.
So my other one is I'm jumping around here. So I chose a Sargent piece, and Sargent sketches are like something I still just look back to constantly. But the reason I had to choose this one was because it so finely balances it's balancing both realism and complete stylization. And this isn't like a high res enough shot. I really tried to find one, but this one is just what was coming up. But when you zoom into this and you realize how many giant pieces of this canvas are covered by just a single brush stroke, but how when you pull back you think that you're looking at something that's hyper real.
Yeah, no,
that is an extraordinary balance to hit.
Yeah.
And his shape language, his lighting, the way that he could capture, I mean, coming from a character artist, just the character that he could capture in people, in my opinion, was really unmatched. So I still really look to him as just being an amazing portrait artist.
Yeah.
And just an amazing artist all around.
Yeah. That's something that's jumping out to me is the arms veiled under the sleeves.
Yeah, I was just
that slight indication of like there's an arm under there, but you can't necessarily. It's not defined because it's obviously it's obscured by something. The technical skill to bring that out or to do that is mind blowing.
Yeah. But
then also, like you said, when he's doing things like one big stroke to indicate a portion of light, or these big chunky brush strokes, but then to also have that level of refinement and control when he needs it, like that's insane. That is somebody who that is a master. That is somebody who's mastered the craft to where they can do both sides of it. They can perfectly render a face, but then just go one big white stroke for a highlight.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it looks perfect.
Yeah, when you get down to the sash and it's just like, oh, okay, this is just a chunk of purple now.
That's so crazy.
And it all just leads right back into her face. And I mean, we're getting a little bit into like 2D rendering here, but I just can't even imagine the hours and the attention to detail that comes into figuring out, okay, how am I going to capture this feeling of translucent fabric over skin with its subsurface scattering and all of the details that go into just skin, and then the balance light from all these other colors around it, and then how it works into the piece as a whole. But then even just like the decision of, I mean, it's like this is how he actually paid his bills too, right? So he had to make like the best damn portrait ever for her,
right?
And he had to figure out what kind of place to seat her, right? Like what kind of dress would work well with this chair, because man, you could have had a really bad conflict between a more complicated dress and that not so beautiful fabric on the chair. But he was able to bring that out too.
That's like grandma's house type of chair.
That's straight. I
kind of love it though.
You have that grandma too? I think we might have the same grandma. She's got that chair.
My dad's got a chair. I mean, not that like royal, but like his couches have that kind of, it's like a darker version of that print where it's just like got stuff all over it. And I'm like, this looks like someone threw up on a couch, but
my house will never have that.
And yet every time I go home, that couch is like, you know, that's a piece of my childhood, you know?
We've covered ours up now because all the flowers got these like tears in them just from being so old. So now they just have like a fabric wrap, which doesn't look a lot better, but at least it doesn't have giant holes in it.
Covered up those messes.
Yeah, it doesn't have the throw up look.
This piece is gorgeous.
Yeah, how did we get to talking about ugly chair?
I mean, ugly chair.
I guess that's it.
Also, the rune stuff here.
Yeah, what is
so
the
cool.
RuneScape stuff that's going on in the background?
Like I'm into it. I mean, this is me going off on my fantasy tangent, but like,
is she a witch?
Is she a wizard? You know, like, does she have powers? Cause like, I mean,
because that's definitely somewhere he spent
cool.
some attention to detail. Like, he easily could have just brushed in some other colors there, but he's like, nah, I gotta capture these symbols.
Yeah,
there's some cool stuff.
I'm also like looking at this too. I'm like, why is this black? But it's because this is gold filigree or gold pigment. And when gold reflects, it reflects dark.
Oh, so dude, that's the blue gold dress work going on there, right?
Yeah, it is.
That's totally it. That
You're right.
Lighting stuff.
You mean white and brown, right?
Back then. Fucking what was it?
It was blue gold, or it was, you either saw blue and
that's what.
No, you either saw blue and black, or you saw white and gold.
White and gold. Yeah. Blue and black, white and gold. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, I would love to see this one in person because. Like the Degas piece you were just showing, when you see this much bigger than a dope frame, totally different experience when you see it. Cool. So there were a couple other, we were talking about maybe going over Feng Zhu and Scott Robertson very briefly. And I guess we were just kind of mentioned these because they had such a big impact on us when we were coming up and our lowly concept art careers. This is like high school years for me. Is that
same
for you too?
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I was trying to find the piece. There was a specific one, a YouTube tutorial that he had done with like these two big barges that are coming over.
Is that it right
every
there?
One of these is coming back to me as I see them.
His character stuff to me was
this one right here.
Was super. Oh, that's so sick.
This one, I just rewatched that painting so many times. But again, like straight up sci-fi, right?
Yeah. He was, like, I would just watch his videos and do my best. Because I got onto him, you know, around this time I was learning to digital paint as well. Because those two things should go hand in hand. If you're learning to digital paint, look up Feng Zhu, because the guy's got tutorials for days on specifically digital painting. And that piece right there Real-time fantasy landscape.
Yes, dude. When he did the real-time one, that was his first one he did real-time. And it was like, oh, God, I watched it so many times.
Yeah, it's super rad. And it made me realize how far I had to go while also getting me going in the moment, too. Because I was like, I want to do this. Because I could see it being done in real time. And I just wanted to... he's so good. It's insane. It's
magic to see those pieces come together. And then for me, it was a huge part of it was him talking about the philosophy of it too.
Yes.
Right? Like that. It wasn't just even the design process, but he was the first person who really left an impression of like the whole, like, you're gonna have to work if you want this. Like, remember, you're not the only kid out there who's watching this and thinking this is really cool. Yeah. So if you're actually going to get a job, then you can't just watch these tutorials all day long. Get your ass to work, son.
Exactly.
I'd be like, oh man, but I can't draw like you. Like,
I know.
Should I do this?
I have a digital painting that, like, I think after I saw this with the like Japanese, almost Japanese style, like layered roofs, a lot of my digital paintings after that, I was mimicking this exact shape, trying to figure out how he made it work, and it never worked as well for me because it wasn't my idea. But it was getting me thinking about different shapes and how to present those different forms and whatnot.
And a lot of it was like a Sparth kind of style too. Like I finally got Sparth's, one of the Structura books, and that was a really big thing too. Like a lot of concept artists do that simple silhouette capture.
Yeah,
so like, oh, it's so simple, right? And then you're like, no, wait, you actually have to know everything about this form in order to capture it.
Exactly. You can't simplify something until you understand it so much that you realize what isn't necessary to make it read.
Yeah. And I think that's actually been something that's been rewarding about doing so much 3D stuff, was that I was surprised when I went back to 2D that I thought it was going to be really rough. But, well, some things, just figuring out line quality again and getting used to moving your hand across paper was different. You have still changed as an artist so much, and your eyes developed a lot more, and especially when it comes to anatomy and understanding forms from different angles.
Oh yeah, that
was something that I just have like an infinitely better grasp of it now.
Same.
And it was really rewarding to be able to take that back and translate it into the 2D world as well.
I love and hate drawing humans now because I know I can draw them a lot better because I know the forms, but I also hate it because it's never going to be as good as if I'm sculpting it.
Yeah, the fact that you can't just go into the move brush and tweak stuff kills me.
And the perspective's not built in, so I have to I have to do the perspective. It's tough, but I love it. All right, so then on the side of Feng Zhu, I also at that time got into Scott Robertson, and man, he is a character. He's a vehicle artist for the most part. But this doesn't do justice on how much he...
Google another one. I literally just looked up his name. He's got it all. Got his mechs.
Something. There we go.
Still man. Be a lot of
anyways,
there.
Yeah. He has his books, How to Draw and How to Render, as well as having a lot of tutorials on YouTube that were key in my growth as an artist in high school. From drawing to digital painting, all of it, even to the point where I was in a experimental English class that was I
like that.
That was like it wasn't. I went from AP English to this experimental class that they were trying out to try new ways of teaching English that wasn't just read a book, do a book report. Funny enough, we ended up having to do a read a book, do a book report type of thing, but it was choose your own book. And I chose Scott Robertson's How to Draw. And I took it to my teacher and was like, hey, could I read through this book, do every exercise, and turn in all the exercises at the end of the year for credit on this book report? And he was like, that's a fantastic idea. I want to see weekly updates on that, obviously. So I went through the entire book and drew all of them, did every exercise, showed it to my teacher, ended up getting an A. And like, just coming out of that class with such more of an understanding of perspective and rendering and drawing and form and visual language, like it, and then later on that just benefited me at every step of the way after that because I got that out of the way early through Scott Robertson.
Well, I'm really jealous that you had sort of a class to keep you on track too, because Scott Robertson was like an absolute god when it came to this, and it changed my art and understanding of perspective so much. My biggest critique, and the reason why I'm still frustrated with him to this day, was his choice to name it How to Draw. Meant that when I went into a class and we were supposed to get the textbook How to Draw, and I was like, I'm so much better with these artists, I don't need a book called How to Draw. Completely skipped the textbook.
Oh no.
Never saw it until years later.
Yeah, man.
Finally picked it up and was like, oh my god,
Dude,
what did I miss? Like, all of my friends were working through this stuff, and I would see their drawings that weren't that good. So I never thought to even look at a dumb book called How to Draw.
Right. It seems too simple for what's actually in that book, which is, I mean, it is how to draw.
Yeah.
But it's actually how to draw and not just like how to put pencil to paper.
Yeah.
It's
like when you realize that,
how to break it down.
I mean, it covers 3-point perspective in like the first page and a half.
Yeah.
And I thought that was all there was to perspective.
Nope.
Realizing that you can create anything that is 3-dimensional in 2D using rules instead of just like guessing, that was something that was unknown to me until like my junior year of college.
Yeah.
I think it was like just before I got into 3D. I found that book.
You found that book and you realized,
yeah, it was actually, it was when I had my shoulder surgery. I was laid up. I was on Oxy for like a month, and I was just like going through Scott Robertson and just doped out of my mind, just drawing for hours every day.
Dude, that's what it takes, though.
I did not enjoy it, actually.
So shout out to Scott Robertson and Feng Zhu for
shout outs
for forming us as artists.
Massive impact. Yeah.
Massive impact.
Yeah. I can't wait to meet those guys.
I would love to just shake their hand and thank you. Just thank you for all of that.
They should go to Lightbox next year, because this time I'm gonna go.
Dude, Lightbox is cool. I strongly recommend to anybody. Lightbox is a fresh and growing convention each year. I went last year, and it's just so great.
Yeah,
it's such an emphasis on the artists that other conventions don't give, and so you're able to actually meet your favorite artists, support them directly by buying work from them, and it's just a really good vibe, and it's well run. So
yeah, a bunch of our coworkers went, and they all spoke really highly of it. So
yep,
I mean, including you.
Definitely.
So the other things I wanted to mention were Art War 4 is up, and I know we had talked at some point about doing a competition at the same time. I'm definitely not at that point right now where I'm like
intrigued,
itching to do another one. But there are some really cool prizes. And
what's going on here? What is it? I've never heard of this before.
It's similar to the whole ArtStation challenge kind of thing.
Okay.
But it's like post updates and work on your stuff and
become
part of the community.
War of the Elements.
Yep. And yeah, so there's a whole art brief. I was just looking at prizes because this is what gets me going early on.
So what's the gist? Is there like a character category, environment category, concept art category, all that kind of thing?
I looked at this over break, and we have to refresh myself now too. Got a bunch of big sponsors though. Nice job, QBrush. So Ultimate Fight. Which side will you take? Oh yeah, they usually do. So there are factions here. So choose one of the following: Earth, Fire, Water, Lightning as your topic. Design a 2D or 3D character to represent it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And these are cool too, because I remember as a student when I would invest like all of my time into making this one piece, I would see sometimes these pros just kind of do it as like once a week when they'd have time, they'd like throw a little update out there. And as a pro, you can just get so much more done. Or you could even I could just take this as time to push my 2D abilities, right?
Yeah.
And I can use this to keep myself on track, like I was just saying I didn't have for the How to Draw book. It's kind of getting the gears turning, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool way to jump into the community.
I'm already thinking about it. Might do something.
All right. Well,
I say let's do it,
dude. Signing me up.
Let's do it. I signed you up just now.
Oh shit!
Now I have to come through too. So.
Yeah. Now you have to as well.
Accountability.
Artists onto it as well. Could be fun though.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, check out Art War, and then this was another thing that I found really inspiring this week.
Oh, that's cool.
Totally taking this in a different direction, but 343 and Riot have both partnered with this company to make this is actually an Iron Man hand here. Yeah. But I think I've got they have some League of Legends skins over here. You can see the Master Chief one. So they're making these arms for kids who have lost limbs called Limitless. It's the best pun name ever.
That's such a good one.
And this is actually just sent over from my aunt who had heard them on NPR, I think. So maybe some other people are aware of this now too. But I wanted to throw it out there because as character artists, we a lot of times just think that we have sort of either games or movies. That those are the only two options. And even if you decide to go down one of those paths, realizing that there are other ways that you can use your skills on the side can just open you up to a whole new direction. It can be, really fulfilling stuff that you can do on the side. Like I know the League of Legends one that was done, I was reading the briefing on Riot's website, and they had basically done it as a hackathon. So one weekend they had some artists come in, and the artists communicated with this company, got the specs for it. Riot had set them up with some 3D printers, and they went from on a Friday night having just the basic concepts for these down to having them 3D printed on Sunday. So you get immediate gratification. You're working super hard with your team over the weekend to put this together, and then you get to put these smiles on some kids' faces and inspire them with a Master Chief arm.
That's so wholesome and so good. That's
super
so
cool, right? Definitely. So
I would have never thought of doing something like that, or even that existed.
That's what jumped out to me too. So I ended up talking to I Skyped with one of the artists over the weekend because I just wanted to know a little bit more about this, and she was saying one of the cool things about working there. This is something that you just have to know as a person if you like it or not. But one of the parts that she didn't enjoy quite as much was that you're very limited on the polys you can use, and the art that you can actually put into it just has a lot of constraints.
Sure.
But some of the cool things are that one, you're 3D printing these things, so you get an actual object.
Yeah.
It's also you can see the impact it has on somebody's life.
Yeah. I mean, those kids go from thinking that they're lacking something to now I have an Iron Man arm.
Superhero.
Yeah. That's such a cool turnaround.
And you work with these really interdisciplinary teams. You get to work with probably people who would make you feel like an idiot as an artist.
A
bunch of people
I work with those
robotics.
people now. I always feel like an idiot.
Oh, bro, I am right there with you. Just tell me what you need, guys. How many polygons? I'll figure that part out.
Even then, no promises. I'm always over.
Yeah, I'm always just gonna shoot for the moon. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just an artist. What can I do?
It's gotta look good.
So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there too, because that was really inspiring me this week.
Thanks for showing that. What a interesting twist.
12 Arms for Christmas.
Wow.
Relaunch. That could be the name of a horror movie as well. It's an interesting
I demand
choice.
from you 12 arms by Christmas.
That's the new Saw movie. 12 Arms.
So good. All right. Well, that was fun, man. I really enjoyed seeing. I think it's cool to. We almost discovered a core fundamental difference in us that. It's a similarity, but it's also a difference in that we were looking at different things growing up, and therefore it's formed us into different artists, but similarly oriented.
Yeah, and I think it always goes back to the whole opposites attract idea, and one reason why we probably like looking at each other's arts, bouncing ideas off each other, because we always have those different perspectives on pieces, and our backgrounds are really different like that.
Right.
So
rad, man.
That was really cool to see. When you had to narrow down to just a few of your top pieces.
Yeah.
It would be very hard for me to scroll through all your ArtStation likes and have picked out the ones that really had an impact on you, and to see you narrow them down was really cool. So.
I wanted to say it was tough for me, but after looking at it, I just had to. I was thinking back and going there's these obvious standouts that I need to pull out, because everything else is really cool and things that I looked at, but all of the things that I showed are things that I've looked at a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really fun. I would encourage other people to just do this with your classmates or other professionals you work with. It's surprisingly fun and quite informative.
Yeah, we learned a lot about each other and ourselves today.
So nice.
So
Good
nice
to have you here,
friend.
Damon.
Good
All right.
to be here.
We'll wrap this up.
Welcome
Peace,
back
guys.
and welcome to 2020, guys.
2020. So exciting.
Yes. Have fun. We'll see you soon.
Bye.